My name is Rebecca Laverty. I am Curator of Modern History here at National Museums NI. I primarily work with the Ulster Museum collection, and we cover the period 1500 to the present day. So I've been working for the last year on the Northern Ireland Prison Service collection. We're doing a documentation project. So basically this collection came to us in 2018. The story behind it really is that the majority of the items come from HMP Maze and Long Kesh. And whenever that site shut down, the items were moved up to Malile, where there was a prison service training college. And actually that's where the prison service set up a museum. And at that point, a lot of other objects came into the collection. So items relating to the history of the prison service, uniforms and things like that, and also items from other prisons around Northern Ireland. Subsequently, the Malile shut down, and the prison service then got in touch with us and we agreed to take in the collection. It's one of the collections, it's a huge collection. It's probably going to be several thousand. We're still working through it, so we'll see how many objects we end up with in the end. But it's part of our work that we do with the Troubles and Beyond. It began with the Collecting the Troubles and Beyond project.
We first of all worked on addressing gaps in the collection, which involved an open call to communities to bring in objects and work with us on developing the new exhibition in the Ulster Museum. After 2 years of consultation with academics and community partners, that exhibition launched in 2018, and it remains a dynamic and changing space, which we update regularly. The approach that we developed in that project remains at the core of our work on this period, and we now have it embedded in our strategic approach as an organisation.
We see it as we are taking an active role to address the legacy of the conflict that took place here. And it's a really important part of our work as an organisation. So today I'm going to take you through a selection of objects from the collection. This is actually something that we've done quite a few times before. One of the things that we think is really important to acknowledge, in particular with this collection, is that we don't know everything about the objects. We obviously do, as curators, we conduct our own research, but part of that research can be working with and engaging with community groups who have direct experience of the conflict, and in particular may have been in prison themselves or may have worked in the prison service. So what we do is we bring people in and we show this selection of objects to them, and then we have conversations with them about it and allow them to share, if they feel comfortable, some of the stories that they may know associated with the objects. So if you want to come with me, I'll show you some more. This collection has a wide variety of items, and they relate to, you've got items relating to the life of a prisoner, items relating to the life of prison officers and people working in admin within the prisons as well. It's a wide variety. And we've also got a few items that would relate to families and spouses, people outside of the prison, whose lives are still impacted by being related to prisoners. So we've got a lot of prison artwork in the collection. You can see an example down here of the windmill. Even behind, actually, you can see some of the larger framed items that we have that are prison artwork as well. Here we've got a couple of items relating to escape attempts, which there were a few of in quite a few of the prisons. So this is a trowel or a little shovel that's been created, and you can see it's still got the dirt on it. For our conservation teams, sometimes they would want to potentially remove this dirt, but actually in terms of, you know, the story of the object and what we would consider to be historically significant, keep that dirt on it because it's part of the story. Also beside, in terms of escape, we've got bed sheets that have been plaited together to create a rope. So you can kind of see here the little tufty bits along it. Also here we've got a number of items that could have been confiscated or taken away from prisoners. So this one here is a letter, and it shows here a list of things that this prisoner has been given in his parcel, and that includes the flannel that you see beside it and the blades. So it's possible that these were taken and confiscated from that prisoner. So these tennis balls are quite an interesting example. This one here, it says, they've been cut and modified. Paramilitary prisoners would throw the balls from compound to compound, and it was a quick and effective way to pass urgent messages or money. So you can actually see the kind of cut of them here. So you can see how this one is sort of connected together with the little poppers and cut apart in the middle. So there's also a number of items in the collection which are weapons, or this is an example actually of, you can see at the side here, it's actually made of chipboard. But if you look at this, straight on and from far away, it does look quite realistic as part of a firearm. There are also weapons in the collection, and kind of improvised weapons from the materials that prisoners would have had available to them. So things like bed legs with nails stuck into them and things like that. There's a knife. And you can actually see there's a number of items like this that are using that same material. And it's quite reminiscent of the big food trays that you would get in canteens. And you can see it's sort of been bent around. So we're not sure about this particular item, but there's certainly others that are made of this similar material that apparently were made out of food trays. So it's possible that this could be the same story with it. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this engagement and laying on what we typically do with our community stakeholders and the groups that we're engaging with is bring them in, lay out a selection of objects like this and just speak with them about it. Sometimes they're able to add so much more detail and so much more information that we just don't have, and it is really important for us, I think, to acknowledge that we don't know everything. This is, I believe, the back of a transistor radio, but you can see it's been opened up and possibly some other bits and pieces added into it. Sometimes items like that were used for communications, and this is again for communications as well. You can see the little earbuds here, and so it probably would have been used as a listening device. We also have a number of photographs in the collection. So we have a fairly large photographic archive, which is mostly finds. So it's items that the prison officers would have found concealed in compounds or cells, and then they've documented it, they've taken photographs. So this is an example of those. You can see a bar of soap, which then had a little watch hidden inside of it, and then a listening device, just like that one over there, which would have been hidden in a shaving cream bottle. And then we also have quite a lot that's about the life of prison officers. So because of the story of the collection, where it came from HMP Maze and other prisons around Northern Ireland and then moved up to Malile, which is where there was a teaching college, there's a number of items relating to Malile specifically. So this was actually a present for the teacher of the class of 84. You can see they've written from the class of 84 here. And then this is another example to the principal and staff of the Prison Service College Malile from a class 6 in 1988. So there's quite a few items like that in the collection. We also have quite a lot of uniform from the prison service. We have uniforms that would have been worn during the Troubles, but also earlier ones as well from the 1920s. And you can see through items like that journey of the collection as a prison service museum, as well as the items that came from HMP Maze. So you've got whistles and the epaulets that would have been worn as well by officers. There's also objects relating to what would have been issued to officers as personal protective equipment. So you've got a baton here, which you can see has NIPS for Northern Ireland Prison Service on it, a helmet as well, and a riot shield here. There's a few of these in the collection, and we also actually have a bin lid which has a piece of leather on it, which we believe might have been used by a prisoner as a shield during riots as well. And then there's a number of items like this which relate to searching. So we've got mirrors that would have been used to look underneath beds, and this here is actually a scanner as well to check for material. So really the story of objects that would have been concealed or hidden and that may have been contraband is quite a dominant theme in the collection for sure.